Hey viewers, welcome to my orchid world. As all of you know that for hybrid orchids we all need fertilizers. I usually do not fertilize my species orchids but for my hybrid orchids I do need fertilizer. I buy fertilizer for them. In a previous video you must have seen the fertilizer that I use for my hybrid orchids. It is a company named Orchid Boon, which has given me very good results, and year on year the number of blooms have increased in my hybrid orchids. And for my species orchids I do not fertilize them, just regular general care, taking care about the light, the water and the humidity conditions. But this time I have decided to try a balanced fertilizer, which you can see on the screen. The NPK ratios, it is 20-20-20. I thought I should give it a try to show you the results, to show the results to my subscribers and my viewers about this new fertilizer which I have bought recently, and I will be showing you the results about this fertilizer. On the packet there are certain instructions to water the plant before applying the fertilizer and the dosage of using. It is written it can be used for all kinds of plants, but I will be using the fertilizer for my orchids, and it is a water soluble fertilizer. I transferred the quantity to a plastic jar so it is convenient for me to work. The fertilizer looks very nice, blue colored, and it's very nice granulated. It is water soluble as it is written in the packet. So the instructions are as 5 grams of the fertilizer in 1 liter of water, so you can adjust your quantities accordingly. So I have taken a very small spoon which I had with me. This much is about 5 to 6 grams. I have not measured it accurately, so I will be taking this much quantity, and I'll show you that it is indeed water soluble. So in a mug of water I have placed this 1 spoon of the fertilizer, and it is getting dissolved. Yes, it is getting dissolved, and it's almost fully dissolved. As you can see, the water has become clear, and so it is we got a first hand experience that the fertilizer is indeed water soluble. So this is 5 grams of the fertilizer in a very small amount of water. This water you can just pour it to 1 liter of water, and then your consistency is will be okay for orchids. Do not use more if you in a very hasty situation, because you will be wanting to apply more. You will have this tendency to apply more fertilizer so that you get more number of blooms, or you get blooms earlier. So do not do that. It will burn the roots of the orchid, and orchids are very sensitive to this kind of fertilizers. And this is it is a chemical fertilizer because it is not organic. It is not written organic. So we always should go for a weaker consistency. Whatever is written on the packet, we should use lesser than that. So I will be using 5 grams, say 1 spoon of fertilizer in 1.5 liter of water. So it will not burn the roots. So this is a water soluble fertilizer, and what you can do is, if you soak your orchids beforehand, it will be easier for you. It will be easier for the roots to take up the fertilizer. I had pre-soaked few of my orchids in a pool of water. They were soaked. The medium is wet, you can see. So I poured the fertilizer onto the container where the pots were when soaked in water. So you can see that the whole water is clear. There is not a single granule of the fertilizer. So in this way it will ensure that the fertilizer is properly taken up by the orchid roots, because it is water soluble, and through the water, if we pour it on the leaves, on the medium, it will be taken up readily by the orchid. So what I do is, I also soak the pots in the fertilizer, and together with it I pour the fertilizer liquid, the dissolved fertilizer, onto the leaves as well. I soak all the leaves properly, wet them, so that it will be easily taken up by the leaves of the orchid. This step is very essential for in case of orchids, because in case of other plants it is not that necessary. It will be sufficient if we put it in the roots, but for orchids, in case of orchids, it is essential. It is important that you pour the fertilizer, dissolved fertilizer, onto the leaves of the orchid, because leaves also take up substantial quantity of fertilizer or cell liquid through the stomata that is present on the underside of the leaves. So just remember one simple thing, that you should pour the liquid fertilizer onto the leaves of the orchid. So I have got proven results when initially when my initial days of growing orchids, I didn't use fertilizer on the leaves. I just used to soak the medium in the fertilizer, and I was not getting proper results in case of blooms. So once I learned that I need to water the leaves as well, I need to use fertilizer on the leaves as well, I have got drastic change in my results, in my blooms. The number of blooms has increased over the years, and so I am saying this from my experience, that you have to fertilize the leaves as well. It is very important in case of orchids, especially in case of orchids. In the last few years, I was having some problem with the blooms of Cattleya orchids which were not blooming well. Cattleya orchids, as you all know, are heavy feeder orchids. They need heavy amount of fertilizer, high amount of light, high amount of water, and as I said, heavy amount of fertilizer. So I was fertilizing the Cattleya orchids, but somehow there was something missing in my care, because I used to get blooms, I used to get buds, but the buds didn't go on to blooms. So this time I have decided to use this fertilizer together with the Orchid Boon fertilizer. That fertilizer I still use, I have been using, and in between the two usage of Orchid Boon, I have applied this fertilizer. This is a balanced fertilizer. All the three components, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, are in equal ratios, and this I want to change. I want to see the result, is if there is any result in the blooms in the Cattleya, especially in the Cattleya, because my subject of experimentation are my Cattleya orchids. This Cattleya orchid, Francis Firefox, which you have seen, has increased in the number of blooms. Last year there were 4 blooms. This year I have got 7 buds. And since this is a very big orchid, big Cattleya orchid, you will not get 20 or 30 blooms in one spike. Maybe you will get 10 blooms, but not a huge amount of blooms you will not get in this kind of big Cattleya orchids, where the blooms are big size blooms. So this year the number of blooms has increased by 3. Last year it was 4. This year I have got 7 buds. Few of the blooms have already dropped. I have removed the dead flowers, so there are only 2 blooms remaining, and 2 more buds are appearing. So altogether this year I have got 7 buds. I have applied the fertilizer to all my orchids together with the Cattleya orchids, but my specific attention will be on the Cattleya orchids. So if there is any change in the Cattleya orchids, I will use this fertilizer specifically for the Cattleya orchids and also to the Vanda orchids. I uh, I have few Vanda orchids, one or two Vanda orchids which have not bloomed. They have bloomed once, and say last 3 years back, and after that the Vanda orchids have not bloomed. So I will be using this fertilizer specifically for those orchids which have not bloomed in say last 2 to 3 years. And after that, if it gets adjusted, if I see blooms this year, when summer comes, Vanda orchids will start blooming, and Cattleya orchids are all year round bloomers. As you can see, one Cattleya orchid is already blooming and one Cattleya orchid has buds. So now is the time to see the results of the new fertilizer. I should say I have got positive results. This is a Cattleya orchid, and my main subject were my Cattleya orchids which were blooming not that nicely, not that properly. This orchid used to bloom once a year, and as Cattleya orchids are very sun loving, very water loving orchids, and they are vigorous bloomers, and the colors, you all know Cattleya orchids are very vibrant in color. And so one positive thing that I have noticed in case of this orchid is the number of blooms. Last year I got four blooms, and this year I have got 6 blooms. So that is one positive result. Let us see another Cattleya orchid. This Cattleya orchid was already in bloom. After applying the new fertilizer, the 20-20-20 ratio fertilizer, I have got another bloom that is coming up. This is a very small one, but you can see it will bloom. This is another cane. It is another pseudo bulb that is on the way to blooming. So that is another positive results. Third positive result I have got in case one of my Phalaenopsis orchids. This is the no ID. I forgot the ID. I lost the ID also. It was already in spike. A second spike appeared after I fertilized the orchid with the new fertilizer, and now I can see another spike coming up. Very tiny, but it will eventually grow. You can see, if you can see, there is small tiny spike that is coming up above this long spike. So this is the third positive results. This is a very slow bloomer, and it will take time for the spike to grow properly. Leaves are also coming out, the roots are growing nicely. So these are multiple positive results that I have got from applying the new fertilizer, the new balanced fertilizer. And I can say that the fertilizer has indeed worked for me. It has indeed given me positive results. Other Phalaenopsis orchids are growing new leaves, they are growing new roots as well, and this Phalaenopsis orchid was not growing that properly, but now I can see new growths. One new leaf has appeared, and one new root is appearing slowly. And I should say that many of you have asked me about desert card, so I will be bringing a video on that. In fact, I can say that all my orchids have shown me positive results. The few that I have shown you are the initial ones which are prominent, which have given me prominent visible results. This Phalaenopsis orchid bloomed last year. Actually, this is a kiki which has not matured that much. Last year, after blooming, the mother plant suddenly died off, and she gave out this kiki. This has not fully grown, but this year it was growing properly. I was not expecting any spike from this because it is a small kiki baby plant, but after applying this fertilizer, I have got one small spike. Can you believe it? Can you see the tiny spike above this small pebble? It's very tiny. I am not sure if you can see it. Yes, you can see. I hope you can see it now. Yeah, that is it. So this kiki has given out one spike. So I was not expecting. I wanted it to grow, but since the spike has appeared, I am not going to cut it off. Let me see. So overall I can say that the balanced fertilizer has indeed really worked for me. It is very cheap, it is easily available in the Amazon app. You can also order it, and I will show you more results, because one more orchid, which is my zygopetalum Zygonesia murasaki, which has not bloomed until now. It is growing nicely, it has not bloomed yet. I have divided it, it is fully mature plant, still it has not mature, not bloomed. But this time I can see something. I will not show the plant now, it is a bit, I will be very surprised, and I'll be very very happy if it is a bloom, because I'm not sure it is whether it is a spike or not, because baby plants usually occur from the same position in Zygonesia murasaki plants, orchids. So if it grows, after it grows for some more time, and I am sure that it is a spike, then only I will show you. So overall I can say that the new fertilizer has indeed really worked for me. It is a very good fertilizer. It is a water soluble fertilizer. Since it is a water soluble fertilizer, it will be easily taken up by your orchids, the roots. And just remember to keep the consistency weaker. Whatever is written on the packet, just go for a weaker consistency, weaker concentration. Never use concentrated fertilizer for orchids. It will burn, it will kill your orchids. So we should remember this very golden rule in case of orchids. I have applied the new fertilizer to all my hybrid orchids, and I can see the results. And I have not used it for my species orchids. I usually do not go for fertilizer for my species orchids, and my species orchids are already putting off spikes after winter rest. I'll show them in a separate video. And since winter rest is I have something to talk about winter rest, and how to identify, how to know that winter rest is over, and you have to continue, you know, to start your watering schedule, your fertilizer schedule, if you want to fertilize your species orchids. So I need to talk on them. I have to talk a lot of things about them, about winter rest, getting over of winter rest, and how you should restart your schedule again. So I'll talk about them in a separate video, but for now I want to concentrate. I want to just say that this orchid fertilizer has been very good. You can go for it. It's very cheap, it's not that at all costly, and it just keep the maintain the consistency, and it will work wonders for you. This particular Cattleya orchid is also has given out one small, it is in bud. I'll show you. It's very small, it's very tiny. So I'll bring it in a separate video, you will see it. So that's all for today. I'm sure you have liked this video. It has been very helpful for you, because I was very excited to tell you about this new fertilizer which I bought, which I thought of trying, and it has given me good results. So I wanted to share the same excitement, this helpful information to all my viewers, all of you. So, and please keep watching my videos and give it a like, and do subscribe to my channel. If you are new to my channel, please do subscribe it. Thank you for watching.